Reading from the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, Book 1, Chapter 6, Text 28. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrī Parīkṣit uvāca. tad-vākya-tattvaṁ vijñāya. Rohiṇī sāsram abravīt. cira-gokula-vāsena. tatratya-jana-sammatā. Śrī Parīkṣit said, because Rohiṇī had long lived in Gokula, its residents held her in high regard. She knew the inner meaning of Uddhava's words, so with tears in her eyes, she decided to speak. One second. Purport: the precautions taken by Uddhava, despite the precautions taken by Uddhava, I'm on verse 28. Okay. Despite the precautions taken by Uddhava, there was no way to stop Krishna's intimate devotees from unintentionally turning their conversation towards the pure devotion of Vraja. That the people of Sri Nanda Vraja had exclusive possession of Krishna's mercy was an essential truth, too irresistibly attractive to be kept covered. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gananjana Shalakaya Taksur Unmalatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sapadantikam Vanchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrindar. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So greetings from the Super Soul Farm. I will occasionally be spending time up here. And there's really a burgeoning community of Vaishnavas up here. It's very refreshing. Actually, in one sense, I was the first one to, Sachi Sutta and Kaylee lived here, but I was the first one to come up and stay. And we just had, I was here and Raghunath asked me what kind of program I wanted to do. I had one Thursday night, and Saturday I said, let's do a mini Lila Kirtan Mela. So there's Kirtan Mela, we have a lot of chanting, but Lila Kirtan is, you mix it with stories of Krishna. And I've been actually explaining this. This is one of the points of my last Monday morning greetings, that chanting, Prabhupada said, listen to the sincerity of your chanting. So our chanting carries our heart to God. And that's why when there's Shuddhanam, when there's pure devotees chanting, and we hear their mantra, we also hear their heart, and we hear Krishna's reciprocation to them. Krishna is a person, and a person reveals himself more and more in love. So the holy name reveals itself more and more in love. So when someone chants with love, Krishna is more present. And the effect of that name is much more potent. So we had that Leela Kirtan, and really nice kirtaneers everywhere by Prabhupada's mercy. Really nice kirtaneers. There's about 30 people, not even all the people that I know. And we started at 5 and we had kirtan, and then about, I don't know, 6 or 6:15 or something. Then I spoke on one of Krishna's pastimes, one of my favorite pastimes of Krishna. When Krishna enters the forest of Vrindavan and he plays his flute, there are 4 qualities of Krishna. Remember, there's one God, but he takes various forms in relationship to intimate love, as we do. We may take a form as a lover that's not shown to everybody, or as a friend, or as a parent, or as a son or a daughter, or a head of an institution. We have different aspects of ourselves that manifest according to the loving relationships we have. But with God, those those manifestations actually simultaneously become a separate entity. It's the same entity. But when God reveals himself fully in love, which in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu is called Akila Rasamrita Murti, the full embodiment of all rasas or love, then that's Krishna. And that's why Srimati Radharani, when she came to Kurukshetra and she saw Krishna, it wasn't Krishna. Technically, it was the same person, but it wasn't her lover. So was it the same person? And therefore, she wanted to take Krishna back to Vrindavan. So it was a nice mixture, and then kirtan, and then Raghunath read various prayers and got books for the devotees to chant various songs. Was it Nava Nirada Nindita Kanti Param Rasasagara Nagara Bhupa Param Raja. Anyway, beautiful songs. And so people sang songs and chanted, and then there was prasadam. Of course, his partner Mara is superb. And then more kirtan and such a wide variety of people. So I didn't get to bed my normal time, and I also did the Ekadasi full, which somehow I rest longer. So not as prepared in terms of my usual bhajan before the class. So I may go off on a tangent. And then I got a message from 3 people that my godbrother's Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj passed away, and was an icon of just sincerity and service. Amazing. His sadhana was like the lines in a stone, and his service, I think, in Delhi alone, he established 17 or 18 major temples, not small places, but real newly constructed temples and all around India and different places of the world. So I was in Vrindavan, he was the GBC, and what I remember about him the most is he always treated people with respect and never criticized anybody. Management is difficult. It's hard not to offend somebody. But that was my experience with him. And So these are great losses. In my Monday morning greetings, which I wasn't able to finish the one I was doing, I reprinted one called "The Decade of Tears," because all the initial follows of Prabhupada, they're all born mostly within 3-4 years of each other, on either side of 50, and some go back a little bit longer. But this is the decade. And it won't be like that in the future because there'll be different generations and some people will pass and there's others. But the significant associates of Prabhupada that way will pass away. My godbrother, Parthasarthi Goswami, a wonderful Vaishnava, who gave me that place in Vrindavan, so how indebted I am to him. In his deep, deep bhajan, he worships 200 Vaishnavas every day and collects tadiya or paraphernalia from them. And he said, and it's not just Prabhupada's disciples, we all have that legacy, that if you look at the cosmology of when Krishna appears and then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appears after it, it's once every 4,300,000 times 2 times 100 years. And then Krishna appears. And if you look at the cosmology in the day of Lord Brahma, which is a different time, it's like 1138. So we were born in we were born in the same minute Krishna was born, practically. And therefore, he said that really, it's almost that these are associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because they're born, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was born a few seconds after Krishna, in that cosmology of day of Lord Brahma. So they're also associates. It's very intimate. They're associates. He joined in 1968, educated Indian man. Prabhupada didn't change his name, just put Das. He was already Gopal Krishna. And how many people from Indian families like that just gave up everything and served Prabhupada? So it's not an ordinary thing. And I recommend you read my article, Decade of Tears, again. Yeah, I think remember him and appreciate. I always quote Voltaire, that which we appreciate comes to us. So part of Krishna consciousness is appreciating the right things, because those qualities, and too many people get caught up in people's nature rather than their inspiration. Of course, there's some boundaries within nature when it's no longer accidental, and there's cruel people and megalomaniacs and so many things. But I just always remember that we look at a devotee for his inspired side, not the ordinary dealings, the nature, but the inspired side. But anyway, I just feel I'm here. I'm enlivened. We're having that retreat July 5th to 7th. We moved it from Pumpkin Hollow. We have a good response. And I think I'm going to speak to Raghunath today also to invite the local devotees. So I think it's going to be a really wonderful, intimate thing. We're thinking of even a barn fire after Krishna-katha one night. And I think it's fun, and a lot of katha and a lot of kirtan. And as I mentioned yesterday, and I mentioned when I went to Champak's house, I mentioned something when I went to Champak's house. We had our new apartment, we had a very nice program, and kirtans were led by Patrick, and then Brajasevika, I think her name, Brajasaki, and beautiful. And I was just sitting there. It was also the day after Ekadasi, and I'm best after the day after Ekadasi. My whole body is cleaned. And I was sitting there and I just had a simple realization. I felt that last night. When devotees who like each other get together and chant Krishna consciousness, chant the holy name, there's nothing better. So our communities are developing, and it facilitates us coming together in common interest. You know, this world is so threatening that we have to keep so many shields, protective. We can't, we can't be vulnerable, and otherwise we'll be exploited. We know how it is in the world. Come in, come in, come in. Yes.
Maharaj, you need to get these cookies from yesterday.
What?
You need to get these Kadasi cookies.
Okay. All right, Raghunath, you could say hello to the group.
Hare Krishna. I can't see anybody except me.
That's it. Okay.
Sorry about it.
Well, these are the Ekadasi cookies?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, and after class, I'll have the Ekadasi quinoa heated up.
Okay, great.
Okay. You giving class now?
I just did.
Okay. All right.
Maharaj making some pancakes too.
All right, I'll be out in a half hour.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah, so I forgot what I saw, but I think it's going to be a really sweet, fun, Krishna conscious weekend. And I think it was Krishna's arrangement too, because we love Pumpkin Hollow, but it was expensive, especially in the modern age, with inflation and economic pressure. More and more we have to make things affordable. And I think here, because I have to say, frankly, by the mercy of Sachi Sutta Prabhu, who serves all the Vaishnavas so nicely, and who's purchased this place in a way that there's no financial burden on it at all, then, it's a whole different mood, because, you can make things extremely affordable and let people come if they don't have money. And so anybody's around, they're welcome to come. That's the plug. But so let's go to this story and let me just see if I can really get it. I don't like to repeat too much focus, but I think when you repeat the story again, you can even envision it. And when you envision the story, you don't envision just the story, but you envision what the emotion is that causes the actions and exchanges in the story. And that's what maturity in Krishna consciousness means. We can see things deeper and deeper. And when it's Krishna's Leela, we'll see at the root of it, Rasa Vai Saha, that ultimate reality that ultimate reality is God and God's energy, and the ultimate reality is this exchange of that energy of love, which we're supposed to participate in. And it's ontological, it's real love, it's eternal love. It's an energy, and we link with that energy. So, Narada's on that search, and he just looking for the Uddhava, and he's coming to the palace, and he's falling and crying and laughing, and just on a very high emotional platform, but not born from the mind and samskaras, but born from the soul. So externally, if you don't have those eyes, you'll see the source of it as something material, rather than the source of it something spiritual. And you'll be affected materially rather than spiritually. So we've been trained by the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta to see devotion in all these wonderful shapes, and Narada Muni is just enthusiastic We want our goal, which is spiritual, to be a magnet to our soul. That's called faith, to drive us forward as quickly as possible to the service of Krishna. As quickly as possible to the service of Krishna. So Narada has that faith, and he has faith in Krishna, has faith in Krishna's devotees, and has faith in love for Krishna. And that's what he wants. And we have to cultivate that faith by hearing and associating with devotees and chanting Hare Krishna. That is the greatest gift, because that will be your driving force, will be the thing that actually can make you happy. And we know all these other things that drive us don't make happy. How many people are happy by scrolling? Raghunath called it doom scrolling, by scrolling on the internet. I'm so glad I'm not on Instagram. It has such a valuable, I guess it does, for communication, but I'm happy not to be on it, because these things, they're somehow social media has a form of you and all your desires. And they can constantly put something to create that faith, to draw you to something that doesn't make you happy and gives them money. And that's how the world is working. And we should not be surprised if Krishna finishes that. if the communications blow up and we have to live like people lived before, where their joy was in interaction and sweet relationships and family and all the things that a tyrannical technocracy is trying to destroy, because they have a different faith than this simple faith that devotion, that happiness is a heart filled with devotion. We have to get that faith if we want to be happy, because that's real happiness. And thank everyone, the steady members here who have that idea, and therefore on here, I want to hear. You want to hear about that love. You want to hear that devotion. So Narada is searching, and he's in an emotional state, and he comes to Krishna's palace, and on the terrace are the closest associates of Krishna, because Krishna is disturbed and he hasn't got up from bed, and that'll be part of the story later, why. He's looking for Uddhava, and Uddhava is right there. And he tells why he's looking for Uddhava. Because that's where happiness lies. It lies in the heart of a devotee. And if you can serve them, Dadati pritagrinati guyam atyachi prichati bhunte bojyate chaiva. If you can serve them, and not serve them, but relate with them, Dadati, but give gifts, accept gifts, give prasadam, accept prasadam, inquire confidentially, reveal your mind, instruct, whatever the relationship is, and create those conduits to that heart, that's where happiness lies. And Narada knows that. And therefore, that's the magnet for him. That's his faith. And he's searching for that with such intensity. And he's so overwhelmed with that enthusiasm that he's blinded. We can be blind to our environment if we daydream, for example. If we daydream, our eyes are working, our ears are working, something can come before us, we cannot even see it. And I've had sometimes where I'm concentrating on something, and then I even forget where I am. So Narada is just blind. And what does he want? He says, but even if I just get a drop of, that's faith, a drop of dust from his feet, exalting him to such a degree that such a little bit has value. That's faith. Exalting Krishna to such a degree that even a little drop has value. And then finally, Uddhava realizes what's happened, realizes he's glorified. But that beautiful Vaishnav vision, which we've gone on with of so much with humility and description of humility, that they have this self-worth of not being significant, but being loved. So humility is a very natural thing because it facilitates love, it facilitates their self-worth, even though that's not their objective. So Uddhava just, again, antithetical to being served, enthusiastic about service, faith in consciousness of devotion, not of controlling and enjoying. The internet, doesn't it condition us to want to be the center? I guess Prabhupada's and spiritual traditions that carry the real message of happiness are the only hope. Prayenalpa yashashubha kalavasmin yugejanaha manda sumanda mateo manda bhaga upadruta. People will be short-lived. The sages in Amarashranya see it, short-lived, always disturbed. Short-lived, always disturbed. Short-lived and always disturbed and unfortunate and lazy. So anyway, Uddhava, respecting Narada as his guru, said it must be true, but then expresses his realization. He doesn't tell Narada, you're wrong, I'm not the topmost devotee. He said, I respect your words, but this is my experience. When I came to Vrindavan, my pride as a topmost devotee was crushed to dust. It was crushed to dust. Absolutely crushed to dust. And everyone knows what I said because those prayers, let me be born as just a clump of grass in Vrindavan. So the dust of, again, that kind of faith. It's the exact opposite of entitlement. Entitlement destroys love because when you're entitled, you can't appreciate kindness. And kindness is the essence of love. You can't appreciate it. So this humility and he begins to reflect not what's below him, but what's above. Just like if one actually takes a spiritual position, he's doomed if he turns his consciousness in his own abhiman or self-conception, I'm above people. But no, rather he has to see my guru and my lineage is above me. And in the consciousness of service to them, I may be a father, I may be a guru, I may take a partner. But in service, that consciousness, that seva bhav, that mood of service. So he exalts the gopis, and then Rohiṇī is going to speak. And she's held in high regard because she's a Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. It's very high regard. When my driver Gopal for 40 years, when I go to Delhi and I go to someone's house, they honor him. They bring him in for prasadam. Doesn't matter, they're rich businessmen, Brahmin families. They honor him. And he's worthy of being honored. A real Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta. Oh, today, the miracle of WhatsApp, I get a call from Jatipur. Any that comes to Govardhan with me, I'll take you to Jatipur and my friend's house, Krishna Sharma, he's in his 80s, and his family, and they'll feed you. They feed all the sadhus that walk around, but they bring me up. We give full prasadam. He calls me up. It was so ecstatic to get that voice from Govardhan, and I couldn't communicate with him properly. So she's special, and she's held in high regard, and she knows the inner meaning of Uddhava's words. It's the words and the meaning. So she begins to cry and she speaks because she has another experience. And it's kind of agreeing but not agreeing, because Uddhava is seeing the gopis' pain in separation from Krishna and saying, this level of love, and this is the whole point of the Bṛhad-bhāgavatāmṛta, to give us this tasya parama antim, this faith in what the highest love and the highest objective, the mo maha vijñāya Krishna prema pradayate, Krishnaya Krishna chaitanya namne gorishi se namaha, the mo maha vijñāya, this most merciful, giving this prema, this love, and the world is relentless. It won't let us be the enjoyers. It's relentless. It won't let us be the enjoyers because the enjoyer does not enjoy. The enjoyer suffers. I think Prabhupada was walking on the pier once, and some fisherman or something and I thought maybe he had some coffee, and maybe he had some fish or something. And he looked at Prabhupada and said, "You want some?" Prabhupada said, "No, you enjoy." And then as Prabhupada walked by and said, "Suffer." Because the more there's identification with the body, the more you feel the changes, the vikara, the birth, death, disease, and old age. Yeah, and again, Gopal Krishna Maharaj, I guess in his late 70s, maybe he was 80. Prabhupada said, "Don't think it will happen to you." And it was good. I was thinking this morning, you're getting older. Glorious to leave in full surrender to Krishna at some time of life without any compromise. Full surrender to Krishna. I thought, wow, how glorious. It doesn't seem that tragic. It's not tragic if you actually gave yourself to Krishna, what confidence you'll have in his mercy as you experienced it throughout your whole life. Trust no future, however pleasant. Trust no future, however pleasant. That's our anyway, getting back to this wonderful pastime. I know I didn't go too far on it, but Rohiṇī knows this is a point that has to be resolved, that somehow or other, this separation, they're suffering so much, but somehow or other, it's not connected to the ego, it's connected to the soul. And although you cannot say it's suffering, you have to say it's the highest ecstasy, because it brings love, which is the highest pleasure, to the highest degree. So now there's going to be an argument that ensues. Is Uddhava right, saying that they're the topmost recipients of Krishna's mercy? Rohiṇī says, well, no. How come they're the top? Because look how much they suffer. And the other Bṛhad-bhāsi there, Balaram, who's also went and saw their suffering. So it sets up a very interesting dynamic, which an incredible story is going to ensue, how this is resolved. And two questions come up. How, if they're suffering to that degree, can they be the topmost recipients of Krishna's mercy? And how, if they're suffering to that degree, doesn't Krishna go back? And the answer to that question, which in the drama that comes, will be answered by Krishna himself. The answer to that question will make it so clear why the love of the gopis is tasya parama antim, the end topmost level of Krishna's mercy. And to understand the inner words, to understand the mind of that, to actually experience that and aspire for that, that's what Lord Chaitanya came to give. Anarpita, never before given, charim charat, for a very long time. Krunaya vatirna kalo, by his mercy. So, I'm going to have to leave a little earlier because there's a group here. Rohiṇī said, alas, dear servant of Sri Hari, the residents of Vraja have by evil fate been all but slain. They have lost the last trace of good fortune and are drowning in an ocean of gloom. There they suffer, poisoned and scorched in the flames of an underwater fire. So please do not destroy my moment of happiness by reminding me of them. When Sri Vasudeva brought me back from Gokul, the cries of the greatly distraught Yasoda made even stones shed tears and lightning bolts shatter. And who can let the mouth speak about the other women of Vraja, who after Krishna left became like living corpses? But I am not very intelligent. After your Lord returned from the house of his spiritual master, my sadness drove me to tell him briefly how the Bṛhad-bhāsis were faring. This, though, did not soften his heart, since all he did in response was send you, Uddhava, an expert in the clever art of delivering messages. Is this your greatest favor and mercy on them, as your words apply? My own experience is this. When Krishna lived in Vraja, so many calamities threatened to destroy it. Vraja was disturbed by demons from Putana to Keshi, by demigods like Varuna and Indra, by creatures like the python, by the falling of familiar things at Krishna's house like the cart and the Arjuna trees. But to these dangers the residents paid no regard. As if in trance, in each event, they wanted only to assure Krishna's welfare. They never thought about themselves. In natural fondness for the son of Nanda, they fully dedicated everything they owed to his own pleasure. Even then, your Lord did nothing to help them. And who could bear to hear me say what he has been doing now to accomplish the goals of his other devotees? Anyway, I'm going to have to go now. I'll just, a little bit earlier today, because so many people here. So I'm going to just look at the list of all the wonderful devotees. Wow, we have a real nice, such a nice group. A few people that don't even come. Wow. Oh, wow. So nice. Thank you all. Okay, I just have to go now, but thank you all for coming. It was great. Panchakalpa turubhyascha kripa sindhu bheva cha patitanam papani.